What about disputes? What kind of disputes have you seen over who's to receive the estate assets? Disputes may be over the language in the trust or the will itself.
Right. Yeah, it always gets fun when you see a will or a trust that has multiple amendments, because now we're trying to figure out, okay, which of these, 5 amendments is controlling the actual distribution of assets. And so, an amendment is gonna say, "I hereby revoke this paragraph and replace it with the following." Um, Not everybody drafts them perfectly, and so sometimes you might get some inconsistencies. Sometimes, they change their mind all the time, and so we're just constantly changing who's getting the asset. The other one that our office has been involved in was, um, where the property was owned by the trust, and the trust made a distribution of that property to a beneficiary. Well, the trustor sold that property prior to their death. So then the question becomes, okay, does that beneficiary receive the money, or is that entire thing stricken? And depending on the wording of that gift in the will or the trust, it's going to depend.
So how does that for the real estate investor? How does that procedurally play out in the will context? You had to go open up the probate, so you're already there.
Mhm.
But let's say, given your hypothetical, you've got the trust situation. You're like, oh, this is awesome. We don't have, we're not in probate. We're winding this sucker down with a trustee. And then all of a sudden, somebody finds a clause in the trust that maybe wasn't well drafted, or maybe it was perfectly drafted, but for whatever reason, everybody disagrees over the meaning. What does that look like procedurally? Does the trust now need to go in, start over from the beginning and do a normal probate, or does the probate courts provide some sort of procedure for a trustee to go into court and get these kind of things resolved?
Yeah, the rules allow for a petition for instruction, because what you don't want to have happen is that trustee says, "Well, I interpret it this way, so I'm going to act that way," and now they distribute to the wrong person. Usually, the trustees are going to be more cautious than that, and so the court allows, the trustee to petition them for instruction, and they will lay out in that petition, you know, I see that it could be argued this way. I see that it could be argued this way. In fact, I have parties arguing that way. I'm torn in the middle. I don't want to breach my fiduciary duty to any of them. So what do I do? And so we ask the court, here's the problem. Help us through this. And then there's going to be a hearing set on that. And um, then you kind of go from there. And the court will ultimately then provide instruction on that.